Greetings! This is the third summary lecture for communication campaigns, and today we're actually going to skip over chapter 3. It's a great chapter, but not entirely relevant to what I need you to do for your final project. So we're just going to go head on into chapter 4, which is where you start the social marketing process that was covered in chapter 2 and we talked about last week. We're going to be starting in chapter 4, which actually kind of covers 2 steps, but just a little forewarning, I'm going to try as much as possible to only cover the things in this chapter that are immediately relevant to the work you need to do for your worksheet this week, which is where you really start to dig into your campaign. Okay, so first step, most important step, is first choosing your issue, which hopefully you've already been thinking about these past couple weeks, and you have a good idea of a topic that you're really interested in doing. What you need to do now is actually start describing that issue a little bit. Your book calls the social marketing topic that you pick a wicked problem, which is a neat way of thinking about some sort of like problem that you want to solve. And so that can sort of be your topic. But you need to describe the wicked problem. You need to describe why it's a problem, how big is the problem, any sort of history related to the problem, how the problem started, things like that. Look at this part, this background planning or description as starting to build a justification for why your campaign even needs to be done. This is going to be the type of thing that is extremely important in your proposal because it really not only would convince, for instance, funders who are thinking about investing in your campaign, investing is the wrong word, sorry, not for profit, but people who are willing to donate money to your campaign or sponsor your campaign, that this needs to be done perhaps over another social issue. I think that's an important one reason the background information is so important in really defining the problem and explaining what the problem is. I also think it's really helpful for you. The more you learn about the issue that you're wanting to tackle, the better that might help you down the road decide, for instance, which audience you want to target or which objective you want to like really focus on. So I would actually argue that definitely this week, this background task is going to take you probably the most amount of time because it's going to require some outside research. You need to have credible sources, statistics to back up your claims. You know, I actually, just for the record, I have no problem with people using Wikipedia, but try, for instance, if Wikipedia gives you some statistics, to then go to the reference list and find the original source and read more about it. You can find information on the CDC that might be useful. You can also, again, find news articles that have reported on certain things or maybe give you an idea of a problem's history. I would just ask again that as much as you can, you go, if you're using statistics, and find where those statistics were originally reported to make sure that you're getting them in context, and hopefully you will find more information that's relevant to this. So again, everybody's background summaries are going to look pretty different. I expect this to be 1 or 2 paragraphs, maybe just defining anything relevant about the problem that you think would help justify the need for a social marketing campaign. Okay, then you need to actually narrow it just a little bit and actually talk about your specific focus. After you've defined the problem a little bit and said what the problem is, okay, so based on this is the problem, so what's the purpose of the campaign? And all this is, it's still pretty broad, but you need to make a specific statement of what you hope to accomplish. I hope to decrease the spread of malaria. Probably not in the United States. I don't know if you'd be doing that here, but the idea is it's not just the topic of malaria. You have a specific objective now. I want to decrease the spread of this, or I want to reduce the time people spend waiting at airport security, right? Or I want to reduce the stigma of mental illness in some way, or maybe reduce the stigma of one particular illness or something like that. Again, still very broad. You're not saying how you're going to do it yet. You're just saying what the purpose of this campaign is to do, even if it's a small contribution to an overall problem. And then you're going to want to actually start narrowing that even further and thinking about the focus. So after you've established, okay, what's my purpose, then you're going to have to pick the behavior you want to specifically focus on to accomplish that purpose. And I know those things sound kind of similar, but I think one way to look at it is every problem has lots of different behaviors that could contribute to it, okay? I think about, for instance, a problem, and actually I need to look into this campaign. Last semester, and I saw a sign about increasing pedestrian safety in Morgantown, which is, trust me, a very worthy goal. It's not a very safe, it's not a great place for traffic, and it's definitely not a great place for people to be walking around in. And I actually have no idea what they want to do, but I know that that was their purpose. I started wondering what their focus might be. I started thinking to myself, well, gosh, this could be, for instance, an issue where they're trying to increase motorist attention to traffic signs or something like that. Because maybe they've determined that really, you know, what they need to focus on is teaching drivers to be more cautious about, you know, or more aware of pedestrians. Or, right, you could instead focus on what pedestrians are doing and, you know, start thinking about focusing on how to teach pedestrians to, I don't know, wear reflectors, although I don't think that's a problem. Or talking to pedestrians about the importance of using the crosswalks or things like that. So the idea would be that there's one big problem, which is the traffic safety in the town, but depending on maybe your area of interest or maybe what you think is more important, you could focus on that problem in different ways. So I want you to go ahead and try to focus on some, pick a more specific focus. And if you want some more examples, right here, let's see, this table at the top right here, table 4.2, really, I think does a good job of showing you how one campaign purpose can have all different options for choosing a focus. So that'll help you maybe brainstorm a little bit on your own topic and hopefully pick a purpose that you think is best. I do just make sure that when you're thinking about this, you always have reason for it. You know, you'll hear me say this a lot this semester, but justification for all your decisions is going to be really important. I'm going to be looking for strong arguments about why you chose one purpose over another. Doesn't have to be long arguments, but just strong arguments. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so parched. I'm so sorry. The heater's drying me out. Okay, so now we're going to talk about another step. We're going to move into a situation analysis. But as I've mentioned before, we're going to do half a situation analysis. Briefly, a situation analysis has you evaluate different strengths and weaknesses for external forces and internal forces. Internal forces being forces within your organization. And as I've mentioned before, I'm actually not having you choose a particular organization while you're thinking about this campaign to give you a little bit more freedom. But just so you understand the step, I do want to say that if you're doing a situation analysis and trying to figure out how your organization, how the strengths and weaknesses that your organization has could help or hinder your campaign goals, you would be looking at things like, oh, do you have technology support? How many people do you have? What kind of skills do those people have? Do you have different, like, you know, do you have maybe experience doing things like this, or people who are experienced with this particular topic or something like that? So it would all be about these organizational issues that could affect your organization's ability to accomplish your campaign objectives. Again, you're not going to have to do that, but just, you know, if you want to read that part in the chapter and have a better understanding of what that entails, again, they have a nice little list in your textbook. They also have this nice, actually, a nice little figure that helps you think about all the different factors, both internal and external. External strengths and weaknesses, though, are really opportunities and threats, or how your book describes it. I do really want you to think about. So this is where you start to think about not necessarily things that could go wrong within your organization, but things that could go wrong anywhere. We're talking about audience, political climate, natural disasters, those types of things. And actually, there's a handy list in your book on page 108 that lists all. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong page. I could edit that out. I'm not going to, though. Oopsie. I apologize. Where'd they go? Oh, of course I wrote them down here. Okay. Yeah, okay, sorry. So on page 110 into 111. Okay. So what I would recommend doing is go down these list of factors. We've got cultural factors, technological, demographic, natural, economic, political, and external publics. And at each one, think about your own campaign purpose and think about forces that relate to these different types of forces that could either provide some sort of opportunity that might really benefit your campaign or hinder your campaign by threatening some of your goals. Okay, so some examples. Let's see. So thinking about culture, for instance, maybe you know that you want to. Maybe that you know that you want to target. I keep using the e-cigarette. Maybe you want to target that e-cigarette trend that's going on right now, but you realize that there are all sorts of advertisements that are going out promoting these cigarettes and the area that you're looking at, and so that could be, for instance, a potential threat to your message. The fact that there are these like counter messages, and I associate that with culture because of the media. But there could also be cultural opportunities too. Like let's say that you wanted to promote the use of a particular vitamin or something like that, and this vitamin is found in the food of a culture that you're working with or something. You can tell how much I know about nutrition with that example, sorry. But anyway, hopefully you get the idea. It's the idea that you think of any cultural element relevant to your campaign and think about how it could either hurt or help what your goals are. Technological benefits. Maybe, for instance, there's about a new app and you're trying to help people take better control over monitoring their blood pressure. And instead of recommending that they go to the drugstore to check their blood pressure, now they have a new app that can help them do it, or something like that. That would be an opportunity. Whereas, let's say you were working with a population that maybe didn't have access to much technology, and you knew that was going to hinder your efforts to maybe get them to monitor something online or something like that. Demographic would deal with anything related to people's, age, ethnicity, income, for instance. Income could be something that could be a help or a hindrance. The natural causes I always think is like, well, that's they have natural forces of nature, including famine, fires, drought, hurricanes, energy supply, water supply. I keep thinking with that, it's like those are the things that are kind of hard to anticipate, unless you know that there was a natural disaster that just happened, right? So maybe there's the city that you're interested in sort of targeting your campaign in is overcoming a flood or something like that, and that could definitely hurt sort of your campaign's chances of succeeding because people are in this crisis mode. Economic forces like the stock market, maybe the stock market is great right now, so there's this opportunity where if you want your target audience to go out and purchase like a survival kit or something like that, now might be a good time to do it because people have, a better cash flow. Political and legal forces. I actually, I got my doctorate in Atlanta, and I knew a lot of people working at the CDC at the time. And what was interesting is the people who were doing social marketing for the CDC didn't always just work on one topic. I mean, and once you become like pretty good at social marketing, you should be able to apply the same principles to any type of topic. But the funny thing is CDC, if you look at it, it's organized by different areas of disease concerns. So they would have a whole division for, and I'm not going to get the titles right, but they'd have a whole division for sexually transmitted diseases, or maybe HIV/AIDS. Maybe they would have like a prenatal division where they were concerned about prenatal health issues and things like that. And what happens is CDC employees, they get sort of transferred around. So they'll go and work on this campaign and that campaign will end. And then maybe they'll ask for a transfer and they'll start working on the heart disease campaign and things like that. Anyway, what's interesting though is that those divisions get more or less funding depending on the political climate. And I actually had a friend who was staffed working in the, I don't remember what exactly it was. It could have been a sexually transmitted disease division, but it could have also been something like just encouraging like safe sex in general, or something like that. But the point is back when the Bush administration came on the scene, and they were concerned that because the political climate was changing and the funding for the CDC, for different issues in the CDC, might be shifting, they didn't want to be in that division anymore, because they knew that it wouldn't be well funded, and they wouldn't be able to do the types of work that they wanted to do, or create the types of messages they wanted to do. So they requested a transfer to go into a different type of division. Likewise, maybe if you foresee the political climate changing in the favor of something that you're interested in, then, you know, that could definitely be like an opportunity. One more example to that effect. A couple of years ago, I know Obama was talking about trying to put more funding into researching the effect that video games had on people. And I actually didn't like that very much, because if you start to classify something as an issue the CDC should be handling, then that also implies that it's a public health issue, and I'm not sure if it is, but whatever. But I kept thinking to myself, I was like, oh, so now, you know, he's starting to talk about this. That's like an opportunity for people who want to maybe do campaigns talking about like time management with video games or something like that. Okay, I digress. Sorry, that was a long one. And then finally, external publics is something else to consider. This would be any group outside of your organization, which I know you don't know, but any groups that you could see potentially helping you, or, again, maybe countering you. I think about, like, well, you know, and this is kind of a cultural climate issue too, but if one of you, for instance, was thinking about doing maybe a vaccine promotion campaign, trying to promote a particular vaccine, or just encourage parents to adopt some sort of vaccine schedule for their children, something like that. You know, on one hand, you know, the political climate could hurt you, because vaccines are not. There's a controversy around it that you might want to consider, and maybe that's cultural too. You know, I'll take however you argue it, but you know, at the same time. There could also be external publics out there. There could be people who are going to try to counter your messages or things like that, precisely because it's such a hot button issue and groups have organized around this cause. So, activists or things like that might affect that. Anyway, there is no one, like, I don't need you to go through and list a cultural opportunity and a cultural threat, or a technological opportunity and a technological threat. I don't need you to go through the list and list, you know, some sort of threat and opportunity for each of these criteria. That's not what I'm looking for. In fact, it could be that all of your threats are of a technological nature and all of your opportunities are of a technological nature, or whatever. I don't really care. What I'm looking for is just that you've really sort of thought about all of the potential forces that could really boost your campaign purpose, or, you know, hinder it. So however you want to go about doing that, you know, so long as it's thorough and honest, I'll be really happy with. And that's the type of stuff I want to see in your final proposal. I do suggest, though, that a good way to tackle this is, like I said before, going through each of these factors and just thinking about how various forces of this kind could affect your own campaign. And if you do that, I think you will be in pretty good shape. There are, as usual, some great examples in your book. If you're looking for other ways of thinking about your own problems, sometimes seeing how other wicked problems have been tackled and the different opportunities and threats associated with them could be very helpful. So I recommend that. But besides that, I got nothing. So good luck. Looking forward to reading the very first parts of your project. Remember, due Sunday, 11:59 p.m. And I'll try to get that feedback back to you as soon as possible so that you can start working on the next steps. So thanks. Have a good one.